As long-form writing or long-form content, it could also be, is where we meet not just as consumers but also as humans. That gives me something. It gets me going. Okay, ladies and gents, alrighty, let the session begin. Hi, I'm Eniola, and I am a Londoner. I'm British Nigerian. I am a German-born Spanish national, and since throughout my life, I've become a tri-national citizen. And I'm a researcher. I'm a PhD student, and I research into the topics of belonging, identity within the Afro diaspora, within the Black diaspora. My background is in psychology. So my undergrad was in psychology. My master's was in anthropology, so specifically social and cultural anthropology. And then my PhD and my second master's was in psychosocial and is in psychosocial studies. So that's kind of like my profile, right? And I feel like all of those things speak to what I tend to be thinking about on a moment-to-moment basis. So whether that's thinking about identity, belonging, and like relationships, both and I say like relationship in all sense of the term, so not just romantic, also platonic love, and relationships, and just how we bond between people, and how what we are seeking and what our needs are, that shapes how we show up in all of those circumstances, or to like wellness and what it means as Black people of color, to live in a Western context. And when I say Western, there I'm implying living where whiteness is the norm, living in late stage capitalism, which can't be separated from whiteness and white supremacy, or also just kind of thinking about how systemic trauma impacts how it impacts our relationship with our bodies. So looking at the somatic element of being a person of color, whether that's your own relationship with your body and how trauma causes you to disconnect and disassociate from your body, or just have a warped relationship with your body, especially as Black people, or even as Black women, and or just Black people being sexualized, and how that impacts our relationship with our bodies, to meditation and to yoga, or to practices that help us be in our bodies, or to like society, and just like the current state of affairs and where we are, and how your positionality shapes how you experience society, to what is going on in the kind of like media world in Africa, or in Nigeria specifically, or in the US, or in Europe. All of that, baby, that's me. That's usually what I'm thinking about. So with my PhD, I am a third year student. I'm in my final year of the PhD. Theoretically, I should be writing. The reality, we have grace for ourselves. We listen and we don't judge. We what? We listen and we don't judge. So I am in the write-up stage of the PhD, which means that in a year's time, I will be defending my thesis, to which I definitely know that the existential crisis of what it means to no longer be a PhD student is on the horizon. But I am also a content creator. I started my content creation journey last year on TikTok. I have migrated over from TikTok. I think like what I love so much about TikTok is that, as someone who I haven't been big on social media over the years, and when I say over the years, I mean that like I want to say in my like late teens, so university ages to like early 20s, I wasn't really on social media too tough. I created my Instagram for the first time in like 2022, 2021. I think 2021. I created TikTok 2020. Like I will say that I do enjoy the element of privacy. I do enjoy the element of like also controlling how I'm perceived, right? So because when you do share who you are and your content out there, sure you can like curate, you know, an idea, but for me, I also had issues with the whole like curating my lifestyle, and you know, so I was like, let me just cut the damn thing, let me like not engage with it. And it's also a much peaceful existence. You know, both being on social media and also being off, both of them have their pros and cons. But as you can see, me being on social media now, and also not just being on social media like full time, I'm also like a content creator. I'm also, you know, um, so I'm sure you can gauge that for me in this period of time, in this stage of life, it does carry more pros than it does cons. The cons, you know, they do be conning. So, but I have loved how it's given. I love how TikTok has given me a platform to share my ideas, but also like, fam, to be a content creator is it's a whole process in itself. It's a whole, you know, there are many lessons. There are many, you know, food for thoughts with being a content creator and what you're sharing, how it aligns with you, the realities of being on social media these days and how it's so polarized. It's such a polarized space, and just how people don't be doing critical thinking anymore. And that's just where we are, you know, and having to also like navigate those seas as well. So I really have like loved the confidence that TikTok has given me in terms of like putting my voice out there and putting my face out there, putting my essence out there, and seeing how it's received. Um, so I then wanted to take the step to move to a space where I can engage with a much longer form. I'm gonna have to find the hold on, let me look for it. Okay, I found it. Someone said, in the world of scrolling, it is a rebellion. Longer form writing gives ideas the space they deserve. There's an intimacy that short form content and captions can never replicate. Long form writing is where we meet, not as consumers, but as humans. I really, really love that. And I really love how just that last line where it says long form writing or long form content, it could also be, is where we meet not just as consumers but also as humans. That gives me something. It gets me going. And it's really the feeling that, again, there is a beauty in short form content, and the space that can be curated through TikTok. I'm sure Instagram is, you know, might be the same, but I'm in a space where I'm wanting to have some sort of an archive, you know, something that serves as as a container for the kind of undoing and unraveling. And the concept of unraveling is really important to me. But the unflowering probably is the most accurate term when it comes to my thinking around my work and the PhD. So yeah, it's in having this kind of like online archive, which I think we, you know, especially in the whole idea of like, oh, you know, not being sure about whether you want to post your content, or, you know, the whole like post your content sis kind of movement. It's not a movement, but movement. And it comes from, yes, the fear of being perceived, but then also the fear of like, oh, everyone's already doing something. And I'm like, yes, I think everyone is worthy and deserving of some form of archiving, some form of I'm gonna have to find the word. I'm lacking the words right now, but some sort of archive where we can look back, whether that's in a more personal, in a more micro sense, or in a more macro sense, and look back at your process. And I feel really proud of myself for, like, you know, taking the step, putting on the camera, and, you know, getting these words into a video form to eventually post, because it is striving. It is, you know, kind of that like going against the grain of like, I have to be at a certain point, or I have to feel or become a certain version of me in order to do this thing that I want to do. And you realize, bruh, you just got to start. Like sometimes, like you just got to start. You just got to, put it out there and see how put it out there and see how it's received. So, yeah. So, welcome. Hopefully you man are trying to join me on this journey. Hopefully, this resonates with people. So, the dealio. Follow, like, subscribe, everything, and all above. Thank you again.